Let's do a quick collage today on a board book. So welcome back, friends. So today I was going to do a collage on a wood panel board. And then I decided, well, I haven't done anything in the board book for a while, so okay, let's just do that. So that's what we're going to do today. It's going to be a quick one. I just went and I spent the most time looking for the papers, and then once I decided on my color palette and things kind of come together. So let's take a look. Since this is a board book, a children's board book, it's kind of slick and shiny. So the first thing that I started with was sanding the paper down a little bit and then putting gesso on there. So the gesso is already dry, and I picked my two main background images. And now I'm just applying some Liquitex gloss gel medium, I'm sorry. And I'm just going to put down my first two pieces of paper first. I'm using my Catalyst Wedge to really adhere it without any bubbles, getting it as smooth as I can. And a lot of times you have to really double check your edges also. I'm going to trim the bottom a little bit. Really making sure it's down there good. So I wanted to add something to the bottom that was sort of in the same color family. So that orange I had used on this other day when I was doing jelly prints. And then I added, I think it was like a random paper I picked when I was doing my tiny tip on the needle nose bottles. So this is one that I had done some embellishing on, and I thought it was perfect. I think the same stencil might have been used in, or one of the stencils in the layer might have also been used in the other one. So they're kind of a little bit married to each other. And I love that rough torn edge. Double checking my edges in my corner. I always have to sometimes reinforce the glue or the medium on the edges. Now, on the second sheet is using the big mask with the curly cues. That's the same mask that was used in the orange piece. So a lot of it is, some of it is color and some of it is shape that I'm matching here. At least this was my thought process in the beginning. Now, I had picked many papers, and many of them were just not really appropriate in the end. So on the other page, I am not going to have this paper go all the way into the middle of the spread. I'm going to back it up about an inch. So, and then I'm going to adhere it so that that shape is going to go off the edge. And that's because I have a plan for that middle section. Don't be stingy with your gel medium, Mod Podge, or whatever it is that you're using. You really need to, you don't want to have it sopping wet because then you might get a lot of bubbles, but your paper's going to get too wet and then everything is going to be a mess. But you also, if you put it on too thin, it's going to even start to dry before you even get your paper down. So you really have to make sure that you have enough, and also get those corners. Like a lot of times I have to lift up around the edges and put more medium. So I have this great paper. I think it has a little bit of metallic on it, but not much. And it's on black tissue. So again, there's that curlicue mask. And I'm just going to cut out a section there. Decided to cut off a little bit more. So don't be afraid to jelly print on tissue paper, because it works well. And I really was anxious to try the black. So now I'm going to have a straight edge that goes into the edge of the spread, but then I'm going to have a torn edge on the other side. And I think that might have been copper paint. So you do have to be a little gentler with tissue paper when you're gluing it down. I had a hard time positioning this for some reason. I think I was pulling too much in one, the top and bottom, and then it was bunching up, but I eventually got it smooth. So I cut this piece to use on the other side, on the right-hand side, but I wasn't really sure where I wanted to put it, so I put it aside for a later decision. But a lot of times in composition, I like to at least have a piece of something. If this black tissue is very different than the other papers, so I didn't want to just have it in that one spot. I felt like it also needed to be somewhere else. And of course, I'm itching to use this paper. This was from a recent video where I did twine. So I'm cutting around the circle. And I love how you see the papers underneath through the deli paper. So one of the things I discovered is tearing the deli paper is definitely a better idea than trying to cut it with X-Acto. The X-Acto, I guess, maybe wasn't sharp enough. The tear was actually a cleaner cut. So now I bring out this paper. I mean, the only thing it has in common is the orange, and the other colors are a lot different, but I decided to go for it anyway, because most of it is going to get cut up and you're only going to see a piece of it. Right now it looks a little too strong for this spot, but I know that, like I said, I'm going to cover it up with more of that. So you're just going to see a hint of that color. This is a good example of a bad print that makes good collage paper. So, I really was unhappy with this print. I save everything anyway, because sometimes those shapes, those colors, the grunginess of it just is perfect for whatever it is you're working on. I mean, at the time I thought it was a hot mess, I think, but it was good for this, especially since I am covering it up and I just wanted to see that color underneath. Look how nice and transparent that is over the orange. That was Payne's Gray that on deli paper. More Payne's. This is the same sheet, so I'm going to take another portion of it. So sometimes with the deli paper, when you're going over a really dark area, like that area with the pink on the left, the deli paper is not transparent over that. So I should have trimmed a little bit more of the deli paper that didn't have paint on it. But I fix it later. I touch it up with some black paint. So before gluing it down, I just want to see, is there something else in that circle up there, almost circle, was something that I thought might be good for this right-hand side. So I prepare it to glue down, and then I change my mind. It just seemed a little too much. Big black blob. So then I'm thinking something going straight down, just because we have that sort of division happening there. I'm not really happy with it. So this I thought was much, much better, and I can sort of connect it to the other one. This is my thought process. And that is much, much better than that big blob would have been. Okay, so let's get this down on the left-hand side. I love how you see those colors through it. So when you see me making deli paper, it's for this purpose. I very seldom use it on just a regular white background. I always put it over another paper. Okay, so now I'm just like trimming off all the edges. I waited for it to dry so it didn't, nothing stuck to my board. Sometimes you can't really see your composition until you got it all trimmed up. So I felt like it was time to do that before I make any other decisions. Okay, so let's Now we have to like really take a look and clean up the desk a little bit and see what we need to add. So I had this like strip left over. I kept thinking I should use it somewhere, but the straightness of it just didn't really fit with this. This thing is very flowy and has lots of like little, curved edges, and I didn't want to put anything like hard, you know. And so I want to start to think about picking up some of that turquoise and lime green in a very, very tiny sort of way on the right-hand side, like having it peeking through underneath that copper tissue paper. It just so you see just enough of it. So that's what I decide to do. And you'll see a lot of times I sort of offset things, like that was in the bottom left-hand side, so I'm going to put this on the upper right. I don't know why I do that. It's just the way my mind works. And of course, that's all going to get cut off the edge. So I'm not really planning to do much more, but I pull out this stencil, which was the stencil that I used on that orange piece. And I decide that I'm just going to do some stenciling over that area there, that dark area, and I'm going to use that sort of tightened buff mixed with a little bit of orange that is on that top piece on the right. So I didn't really actually mix it, I purposely made it so that I can just dip in and get a little bit of orange and mostly tightened buff. And I'm using a makeup sponge. And you do have to dab off some of the paint first so that it's not too wet, or it's just going to be a mess. And the makeup sponge it's small enough that it helps you get into those little areas without making a mess. So I hadn't done this yet on this book, so it was a good time to introduce a little stenciling on top. Okay, so I'm debating whether or not I'm finished. But that area right there where my deli paper is meeting the black area, really, really not happy with that. So I'm touching up with some black paint over that. That helps a little bit. And then also that area where I just finished stenciling, I should have used a baby wipe, but I didn't. So I'm going to touch up over there as well. Okay, so it looks like I'm done on this one. I don't want to do anything. I think that some of these papers are a little bit busy, and I'm a bit of a minimalist when it comes to, you know, art for the most part. So this already looks too busy for me. So I think I'm gonna just let it be. And here are some of the details. So I hope you enjoyed that. I always love doing these quick collages because I never know what's going to happen. I always have a plan and then I go way off on my plan. I don't know, it just falls apart. Anyway, this was a good one, I thought. Maybe not as good as the last one. The last one was, it was a good one. I like the colors on this one and it inspired me, so I hope it inspires you. So don't forget to create, inspire, and share, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.